solo episodes just on audio. I don't usually do them on the old YouTube. But I thought, you know what? Why not? I'm going to just jump on. I have some time to kill. Not to kill, obviously. I have some spare time. And I thought I would just jump on and just have a chat with some people about movies, about go through some of the things I've watched, some of the TV shows I've watched, some of the video games I've played, and just life in general. So there is nobody in the chat room at the minute, so I am literally just talking to myself, which is fine. Normally with the solo podcasts, they do end up with me just talking to myself anyway. So the only difference in this one is I can see my face. How are you all? Hope you're all doing well. I'm doing okay. I'm not doing too bad. Cannot complain. Where do I start? Right. Well, real life stuff's been interesting. So it's been just over a month since I woke up with a pipe coming out of me. Yes, if anybody wants to listen to that episode 778 tells of my wonderful medical issues where I woke up with a pipe sticking out of me. So that is amazing. So then about a week and a bit ago, I went in for further tests. They put this purple dye in me to light me up like Cape Canaveral so they could see what is Cape Canaveral still a thing? Anyway, space area. And then they did some tests and they investigated me, and I've now got to wait, that's about a month to find out the results, even though I know they already know the results. So at the minute, I'm still sitting here with a pipe sticking out of me, which is amazing. However, I'm also sitting here with a cup of tea, milk and 2 sugars. So there's that. So real life stuff's on and off. Been a crazy year. We're sort of pushing now into fall or autumn, and before long, people will start doing their Christmas things. It's absolutely crazy. I did vow that this year was going to be the year I sorted my health out. Maybe next year will also be part of that. It seems to be like an ongoing process. Now, the older you get, the more your body falls apart and you have to get stuff fixed. So thank God I have movies to keep me distracted and to keep me sane. So it is the 23rd of September. So we've got like just about a week left of September. And then it is Shocktober. Are we all excited about Shocktober? Do we do Shocktober? I always think I'm going to. I always plan on, right, I'm going to watch horror films all month, full October. I'm even wearing my Night of the Living Dead t-shirt in anticipation for Shocktober. But then I usually get about 10 days into it and I'm like, oh, look, a new action movie. And then I end up watching that, and my sort of Shocktober month gets derailed pretty damn fast. However, this month I am going to make, or next month, I am making a concerted effort this month, September, to put together a list of 31 horror movies to watch throughout the month of October. There will be a mix of physical discs, which I have a few physical discs. There will be a mixture of screener discs. So I have quite a pile of screener discs. And it will also include some digital movies. So, for example, Shogun Films has a new film coming out in the UK next week, on the 29th of September, called Halloween, which is a killer clown movie. Looks a bit like The Purge, so I'm all up for that. So I'm going to watch that one. And I am starting to dig out some physical media discs of films that I haven't seen. Now I'm going to subject Annette to a lot of films that I have seen, including When Evil Lurks or Where Evil Lurks, one of the two. I've seen that one, she hasn't, so I'm going to subject her to that film. It's an awesome movie if you've not seen it. Now, 3 that I have dug out this evening, which I've never seen, and if there is anybody in the chat, then let me know if these do fit in. Are these suitable for Shocktober? This first one is Ishi the Killer, which is a 3-disc set that I picked up a while back. I did do an unboxing video of this, which is on the channel somewhere. I've never seen Ishi the Killer. It's an 18 certificate. It does say extreme cinema, so I'm guessing that Ishi the Killer does fit into the horror genre. The next film, which I have seen, but I haven't seen it for like 20 years, is Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, which is one Annette has not seen, but I have. But other than the fact it's got Michael Rooker in it, I cannot remember anything about Henry Portrait of the Serial Killer, other than there's some sort of scene where they are watching back a videotape of them doing a previous killing, and the BBFC here in the UK had a real issue with that, and it was trimmed for, I'm guessing, quite a few years. But this version I have does say the uncut version, so I will be. I don't know if treated is the correct word for that one, but I'll be watching Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. The third and final physical media disc that I have here, I kind of wish I had 31 of them. Hello, bestie in the chat. Have you seen Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer? I have, but not for many years. So the third and final disc that I have is The Devils. So this was one that filmmaker Neil Johnson gave me years ago. Nice little set, got a little booklet in it, 2-disc set. There's a whole bunch of extras on this. I've never seen The Devils. I'm not a massive Ken Russell fan. I know that's kind of sacrilege. But Ken Russell films are a bit weird. I'm okay with a bit weird, but it kind of needs to be, I need to be in the right mood for kind of weird. So that's why this one will get watched and I will thoroughly enjoy it, I'm sure. This is one of those films that, as far as I know, has never been available in the UK fully uncut. There's probably a big story behind that. I'm sure Neil knows the story, where it's either cut for violence or sexual content, or just footage was lost, or something like that. But I'm aware that the version I'm going to watch is not the full uncut version. So I just started with my assembling of physical media discs tonight. That's why I've only got 3. But I do have a lot of DVDs in the house, so you can see a collection there. Most of those I have seen before, so that's why they're not currently sitting on the pile. Some of the other films that I'm going to track down for the 31 days of October, I haven't seen The Entity for many, many years. It's like, now, is it 1982? Not the most pleasant looking film, and that's one that Annette's mentioned a few times, where she's like, oh, I've never seen The Entity. I'll obviously need to give the trigger warning on that film to her because of the subject matter. But it's a film I've not seen for a while, but I will definitely check it out. So what have I been watching? I'm going to try and give you some recommendations on films. Now, I actually keep a Google spreadsheet on all the films that I watch each year. I have kind of done this for the past, I think, like 30 years. I know some people are going to go, Google spreadsheets haven't existed for 30 years. They didn't. No. But way back, we're talking like the late 80s. I used to have a lot of cinema posters, like the full-size cinema posters. And what I used to do was, for the posters that I wasn't really fussed about, is I would turn them around so it was showing the white part. I would draw and pin them to the wall, and then I would handwrite with a pen every film that I watched. So I would end up with a list, and I would have one cinema poster per year. I kind of wish that I'd still have kept those, but I don't know why. I was just always obsessed with keeping score of how many films I'd watched over the years. On average, I watch maybe anywhere between 250 to 350 films. The most I've ever watched, I think, was probably about 10 years ago, where there was one of my New Year's resolutions, and I'm like, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to watch one film for every day of the year. And I did it. I ended up on 366 films for that particular year. Sounds like a lazy challenge, but it was kind of exhausting because, I mean, it's quite easy watching a film a day. You never run out of films. But if you go away on holiday for a week, you've got to watch 7 films. And if you're not watching them on holiday, then guess what? You've got to watch 8 films on the day you come back, or so on. You've got to play catch up. So once this starts to happen, then the catching up gets pretty exhausting. And then it isn't long before watching 365 films in a year seems like hard work, and you kind of get sick of it by the end. Once you get to about October, November, you've kind of had enough of the challenge and you want to just like bail out and go, I'm never doing this again. So it is a challenge I've only ever done once. I did it. I'm good. Don't ever really need to do it again. Um, how do I watch films? I don't mean how, obviously. I watch them on Blu-rays and streaming and screener links and stuff, but how do I choose what I watch? Well, I just watch whatever the hell I want, to be fair. Um, Doing a movie podcast, which usually has co-hosts, usually John Fouts or Stu Miller, used to be Robert Dyer, but Rob and I haven't recorded one in quite a while. We'd watch what we watch and then we'd talk about it and so on. But then it feels like it's homework. And so that kind of gets annoying. I think watching films and making it feel like a bit of a chore kind of sucks. So I gave up doing that. At one point, I used to get a lot of review discs sent through. This was probably like mid 2010s. So every week, I would end up with maybe a dozen screener discs that would come through the post from various companies. And, hey, watch this film, watch this film. But then that starts to feel like work, and then that ain't fun. And then anybody who runs a website or has a podcast, or anybody who works on the deadlines, knows that deadlines ain't fun, and they're not enjoyable at all. So I became very choosy about which films I wanted to review. So once the pandemic kicked in, screener discs kind of stopped, and then it became digital screener links. So you'd get these in an email, and I'm not a massive fan of those. I will watch the odd one, but generally I spend too much time in front of a computer anyway, and so I don't really want to spend time watching a movie on a 32-inch screen through PC speakers or headphones when I can be watching a Blu-ray or a DVD even downstairs on a 4K TV, which is about a 60-inch screen. So I was very, very choosy about which screener links I would accept. Not a massive fan of those. I do prefer the old physical media discs. That's why I have so many of them. So yeah, now I watch what I watch. And you'll hear that when I go through some of the films that I've watched over the past week or so. It's a very varied mix. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to crack on with some of the films that I've watched. I'll also tell you where I've watched them, which I think I think it's interesting. You might think it's boring as crap, but I'm going to say it anyway because it's my live stream. So I rewatched, which was my 102nd film of the year, the 1975's Rollerball, which I'll explain why I watch Rollerball. So downstairs I have this big bookshelf, and as part of a podcasting project, probably like 3 years ago, I think, myself, Robert Dyer, and Stu Miller, we all came up every month for like 10 months. We all came up with 10 films that we absolutely love. So obviously each episode, 3 hosts, 30 films. And we slowly crafted over this 10-month period our 100 most favorite films. So not the 100 best films, but our 100 favorite films. So that we could build up a list for each person. I do still have those lists, funnily enough, saved in a Google document. And so I built up my 100 favorite movies of all time. Again, not the best film. There's a difference between the best film and my favorite films. So we did that, and then I decided, you know what, I like my list. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start making sure I've collected them all on physical media, either DVD or Blu-ray. I'm going to make sure that I have them all. So I did this, and the problem is, it's a bit of a struggle to make a top or a favorite 100 film list. I mean, of course, it's easy enough to come up with 100 films that you love, But if you're capped at 100, what happens if you think of 101 or 110, or in my case, about 140 odd films? So I had this 100 list, and then it just grew and grew and grew. And I think at the minute it's around 240 something. I can probably check. Let me have a look now. I do have it in my Google document. Right, so at the minute, let's have a look. My current list is 223. So I have 223 of my favorite films listed in a Google document. I then put the year. Hey, Lordy, how you doing? I'm just generally chatting, so feel free to chip in or fire in any questions or comments. I could use the company. So I created this. I got this bookshelf basically, and I'm like, right, my 100 favorite films. I'm going to collect them all. Now that sounds expensive. If you go on Amazon, it is expensive. So I was like raiding charity shops and secondhand shops and stuff. I'm like, oh look, I found a copy of The Deer Hunter, which is in my favorite list of favorite films of all time. And oh look, I found a copy of 13 Hours, the Michael Bay Benghazi movie. Yep, that's also in there as well. Tron Legacy is also in there. So I started building this shelf up, and then I put them all in date order. So the year they were released, according to IMDb. That gets kind of tricky. For example, some films that came out in 1986 actually didn't come out in the UK till 1987, but whatever. I've just gone with the US date. IMDb kind of works, makes it less hassle. And so I started seeing this collection of films building up on this big bookshelf. I then blasted past the 100, and let's say now it's currently at 223. It will increase because when I've done the 100, I would look at a magazine or see some article about Robert Redford or something and go, oh, sneakers. I've put sneakers in my list. Let me put sneakers in the list. And so it just expanded like that. And this list got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I do still have quite an amount of space on the bookshelf. So I reckon I can probably get to about 300, 350 if I choose to. Sorry, just let me stop something on the PC here. There we go. Right. So yeah, so I have this shelf downstairs. They're all in date order. And because it's a physical shelf and it's not a digital library, it's between the kitchen and where the TV is. So I'll be wandering around and I'll walk past and I'll see a title and go, oh, I want to watch that. And that's how I ended up watching Rollerball the other week. I walked past it and I'm like, I ain't seen Rollerball in a while. Off it comes upstairs in the Blu-ray player. Watch James Caan punching people and playing Rollerball for a couple of hours. Stay away from the remake of Rollerball. That sucks. I'm not against remakes of anything, but that one is pretty damn terrible. The original one, 1975, really, really good film. And what's also interesting about having a bookshelf with all your favorite films in, again, I say favorite, not best, is you can kind of see your life in these. If you're as much of a movie geek as I am, you can look at the block. You know, for me, it's like, I think like 1980 to 1986 is the biggest block, because that's when I was at my most sponge-like for soaking up classics, obviously like Ghostbusters and Gremlins and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom and stuff like that are in there, Goonies and everything. But it's obviously, it's not just films that were from my life. My oldest film in there is, I'm looking at the spreadsheet again now, is 1957's 12 Angry Men, for example. Now, I was not around in 1957, but I saw the film, I don't know when I saw it, probably the 80s. I just loved that film. You know, you get 12 people in a room arguing about a court case. That's it. It's very, very stage-like. Excellent film. Great cast. So that's why that's in there. Hey Esther, how you doing? Um, but I sometimes battle with what films to have in my list. I keep hokey cokey in The Wizard of Oz. And by hokey cokey, I mean 1 minute it's in there, next minute it's not. I do like The Wizard of Oz. I think it's a great film. I love it. I've seen it probably 20, 30 times over the years. But is it a film that I go, do you know what I want to watch? I haven't seen Wizard of Oz for ages. I'm going to put it on. It isn't that sort of film, but every time I'm watching the film, I like it. So I do still have a copy of it. It's up here in a minute. But I don't know if I've got that in my favourite films of all time. So after 12 Angry Men, 1959's Ben-Hur, which is an absolute classic. Now that is a film that periodically I'll go, do you know what I've not seen in a while? Ben-Hur. I feel the same about Lawrence of Arabia, which isn't in my top films of all time, but may end up in there at some point. So basically, that is how I ended up watching Rollerball. So what else have I watched? Well, I got a set of screener discs through for when did I get them through? Like a month ago. And then I fell ill. For those of you who were here at the beginning, I had some health issues and woke up with a pipe coming out of me. Always not recommended. And so I was like bedridden for like a week. And it was giving me a good chance to catch up on some of these screener discs. So I would sit there with a sheet of paper and a pen, and I would watch films and I'd write little notes down while watching the film. And then when I was up at a computer desk, I would type up the reviews and so on. And I was sent through 3 discs, the Pusher trilogy, they were called. I was trying to think of the name of the actual trilogy. So it's Pusher, Pusher 2, and Pusher 3, genius names, all directed by Nicholas Winding Refn, who would go on to do Drive, which everybody's seen Drive. Drive is an amazing film. And so I was sort of interested in watching Pusher, but they're subtitled. And I've nothing against subtitled movies, but I've really got to be in the mood for them. And having been in hospital for like days before and just feeling like crap, I'm like, is this the actual mood that I need to be in to watch subtitled films? Not really. It's not ideal. You've got to be really, really with it. But I'm like, right, I'm going to watch the Pusher trilogy. Let's start with the first one, which is a 1996 Danish film. And it was remade, I think it was British. I think it was a British remake in like 2012. Isn't as good as the original one. Now, in 1996, you had things like Independence Day coming out, Jerry Maguire, and the indie sort of thing was on the rise. So Tarantino had already done Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction. Abel Ferrara had done Bad Lieutenant, King of New York, and all that sort of stuff. Sex, Lies, and Videotape we had. And this film called Pusher was shot on a really tiny budget. I don't know what the budget was, but it was pretty small. And it tells the story of a guy called Frank, who's a drug pusher. And it's a story that we've seen before. So a person does something to try and better their day. That thing goes wrong. So therefore they have to do other things to try and get out of that trouble. But then those things go wrong. And then things get worse. And before you know it, the whole damn day sucks. And they've had a miserable time. Something like U-Turn, the Oliver Stone film, is like that. Bad Lieutenant, Abel Ferrara's film, is also like that, where Harvey Keitel's character just keeps gambling to try and dig himself out of a financial hole, and spoiler, it don't work. Pusher is that kind of film where a drug dealer does something, it goes wrong, he has to try and do something else in order to try and get out of trouble, and that thing goes wrong, and so on and so on. It's a snowball movie. Really good film. By the end of it, I'd really enjoyed it, and I'd obviously not forgotten it was a subtitled film, but I'd kind of the film had picked me up and taken me along for the duration, so I enjoyed that. So the following night, I'm like, let's just gamble again. Let's watch Pusher 2. The Pusher 2 has Mads Mikkelsen in it. First one had him in it, but he was in it for a small role. This is more front and center. Mads Mikkelsen, and Pusher 2 follows him. And it's a similar type of storyline where we're following his life, and not a pleasant life. None of the Pusher films glamorize drug dealing in any way. So nobody's going to watch these films and go, do you know what I want to be? I want to be one of these drug pushers. No, it's not that sort of film. It is definitely a cautionary trilogy, shall we say. Pusher 2, I preferred to Pusher 1. Pusher 1 is obviously more groundbreaking because it was 1996, and we weren't really that used to seeing these type of films coming out of Europe. So we'd seen things like La Haine and Man Bites Dog and stuff, but it was kind of a breath of fresh air around that time. Pusher 2 was, I think it's like 10 years later, so I think we're talking 2003. I'm going to check. I do have it listed here. 2004, sorry. So, and then finally, the night I like Pusher 2 better than Pusher 1. And then the following night, I'm like, you know what? Might as well round off this trilogy. So I put Pusher 3 in, and I preferred that to Pusher 2 and preferred that one to Pusher 1. So it's a really solid trilogy. Now and again on social media, you'll see people ask that question, going, give me a trilogy of films where all of them are good. And Pusher is definitely a good answer to that. And then obviously years later, we would go on to see Nicholas Winding Refn go on to do Drive and Only God Forgives and stuff like that. But it's a solid trilogy. The screeners came from Second Sight Films. They've released the trilogy in a single box set, and within the box set, each film has a commentary. I'm a sucker for audio commentaries. I absolutely love them. There's an hour and a half making of, which is also good. And there's like 3 extra movies in there as well that were inspirations for the Pusher trilogy. I haven't been back and watched those yet, but they're there for, you know, when I've got some time to kill, and for some unknown reason, it'll never happen, when I've run out of films to watch. So I watched the Pusher trilogy. What else did I watch? I did tell you at the beginning this was like a really varied list of films, because I basically just watch whatever the hell I want to watch. Annette and I are working our way through the Disney classic movies. So the Disney animated stuff. We started with Snow White in the 1937 film, and we're working our way forward in date order. And so last week we watched the 1988 classic. Yes, it is a classic. Oliver and Company, which was a film that I think I'd seen, but I didn't really remember too much about it. So if anybody's not a subscriber to this YouTube channel, please do me a favor, subscribe button, much appreciated. It's not always just me ranting and raving solo. There's unboxings and dual podcasts and Q&A panels that I've hosted and all that sort of stuff. There's a wealth of geeky goodness on this channel. So if you're not subscribed, I'd love it if you could. I'd love it if you watch some of the videos and comment on them. But anyway, so Oliver and Company. It's the Disney animated take on Oliver Twist. Absolutely loved it. When you talk about the Disney classics, people go Jungle Book, Beauty and the Beast, Little Mermaid, Lion King, etc. Not many people talk about Oliver and Company. And I think that's a shame. I think it deserves to be talked about more than in fact it is. There's not much to it. It's Oliver Twist done with cats and dogs. Pretty much it, but it's great. I had a blast watching it. The next film I watched was from a Clint Eastwood box set that I have. I have this box set downstairs, which is 40 films, and they're all Clint Eastwood movies. About that size, but they're all sandwiched in there. And I realized I hadn't watched Firefox in years. I hadn't seen it in a long, long time, easily like 10, 15 years. So I dug out the Firefox DVD. Unfortunately, the version that's in that box set is the cut one. So there seems to be 2 versions of Firefox. There's one that's like 2 hours and 10 minutes. And then there's the theatrical one, which is about 1 hour 58, 1 hour 59. That was the version I'd got. So I haven't managed to track down the slightly longer version yet. I'll be curious to see what's actually in that. But it's all good. You know, the Firefox jet plane fights in there, and the Russian spies, and all that sort of stuff. The film is littered with a wealth of UK actors, all putting on German or putting on Russian accents, but it's fine. I'm guessing most of it was probably shot in the UK, but it's a really good Clint Eastwood film. It's a Cold War thriller, and it was the first. Well, it wasn't the first. I saw that at the cinema, and I would have been like 11 or 12, and other than the Firefox fight, I remember being a bit bored by the rest of it. But I was 12 years old and I was used to Superman and Star Wars and the Cat from Outer Space. So it wasn't until I sort of got older that I learned to really, really like Firefox. I was thinking the other day, it's like I've got a lot of box sets, and one of the best box sets that I own is the 40 film Clint Eastwood box set, because there isn't a Duff film in there. Some people, yes, Pink Cadillac is in there, and White Hunter Black Heart is in there, but I've seen both of those films and they're okay. They're not top tier Clint. They're not like Dirty Harry or anything like that, Heartbreak Ridge, but they're good. I think Clint Eastwood. I'd be hard pushed. Yeah, thanks. Do I look gay? What does gay look like? I don't know. Is this where it's like takes one to know one, or somebody in the chat has just said I look gay? Don't quite know what look gay looks like, but never mind. Thanks for the feedback, though. I do appreciate it. So yeah, Clint Eastwood. Yeah, I don't think he's done a Duff movie. If he has, I haven't seen it, and yeah, I don't think he has. A bit like Gene Hackman. Gene Hackman has never done a Duff movie either. So I ended up watching Firefox. Then I decided I wanted to start catching up on some of the movies that had come out this year that I'd missed. So the first one I watched is a remake, and it was the Liam Neeson starring Naked Gun. Now I remember seeing the original Naked Gun back in the late 80s. Was it like 89 or 90? I think it was. And I loved it. It wasn't as good as Airplane, because Airplane is a damn classic. I love Airplane. I once watched Airplane with the sound off, and it still made me laugh. So the Naked Gun I enjoyed. Naked Gun 2 is fine. Naked Gun 3, yeah, not so much. But this new one, the new Naked Gun, is funny. I think Liam Neeson is perfectly cast as the son of Frank Drebin. I think Liam Neeson has always had a sense of humor. I've seen it in other movies and on interviews and stuff. And so he has got that sort of comedic charisma. And so I keep looking at the chat for that clown to come back and try and chuck another insult my way. Hopefully he's buggered off. And I'm sure he hasn't now. Come back with something. And so yeah, so Naked Gun is funny. It's not as funny as the original ones, and I think that's more so because our viewing habits have changed. I think we've sort of, the whole rapid fire gag thing that was so damn funny and unique in Airplane has been done. It's never been done as well as it has in Airplane, but it has been done, and so we've kind of changed. We're not as tuned into that sort of slapsticky, rapid fire, Shirley, you can't be serious, don't call me Shirley type thing, as we did love back in the early 80s. But I liked it. I thought it was good. I would recommend it. I don't know if it's a film for everybody. I think if you hate the original one, I don't think you're really going to like this. But if you want to watch Liam Neeson just having a good old laugh and some crazy slapstick humor, then go for it. I would recommend watching The Naked Gun. The next film I watched was Hostile Takeover, starring Michael Jai White, who is a guy I've seen in a bunch of films as well. My sort of short pitch on Hostile Takeover, it's kind of like a more comedic, not too comedic, a more comedic version of the John Wick movies without the uber violence without the dog killing, and sort of without the style. And that's not a bad thing. I think Hostile Takeover was a good film. I enjoyed it. It just felt like if John Wick is cinema, then Hostile Takeover is more made direct for streaming, kind of that. Michael Jai White is great in it. It's the first comedic type role that I've seen him in. Normally, the things I've seen him in have been more sort of hard hitting, pun intended, action thrillers. But Hostile Takeover was pretty good. I would recommend that. I then moved back into Liam Neeson territory again and watched the follow up to The Ice Road, which I watched last month. I'd never seen The Ice Road for some reason, it had slipped under my radar. And so I watched that one. Love The Ice Road. If you've not seen The Ice Road, do check it out. Ice Road Vengeance kind of picks up some of the plot threads from that. Oh, sorry, just clicking on my screen there. Got the wrong thing on my screen. So I'm just trying to make sure I don't lose my list. There we go. Right, we're back. Right. Yeah. So Ice Road Vengeance picks up from, not from where the first film left off, but kind of, you get the gist of it. You don't really need to have seen the first film to watch Ice Road Vengeance, but it kind of helps. But to be honest, you don't. You can go into the second one. It's more Liam Neeson just ending up in a position where he has to beat people up and be the tough ice road trucker. This one is set at the base of Mount Everest, so there's not too many ice roads. I think there's only like one ice road in this film. So when they sort of shifted the location of the film away from ice roads of the first one to the Himalayas and stuff in the second one, I'm like, should they really call this Ice Road? But it does make sense. It's part of a franchise. But Liam Neeson's great in it. I had a blast. It's like an hour and a half. Spot on. Then I ventured into Nobody 2, the Bob Odenkirk sequel to the Bob Odenkirk starring first film. I really, really liked Nobody 1. The second one was fun, but it was kind of shallow as well. But if all you want to see is Bob Odenkirk just beating people up and shooting guns and stuff, then it's perfect. That's pretty much all I needed to see, to be fair. But it just felt like watching Nobody, the first film. He was more an everyman. He was an everyman who got into a situation where, like, oh my God, he's like John Wick. This is amazing. But you go into Nobody 2 and you know what sort of character he is because you've seen the first movie. So it's not as much of a, wow, look at him go. We're just waiting for the touch paper to be lit and watch him go off and be crazy. So it is good, Nobody 2, but I definitely preferred the first one, but 2 was fine. Next film I watched was The Gorge, which is on Apple TV Plus. This is the Miles Teller, Anna de Armas, or is it Anya Taylor-Joy? Get my actresses mixed up there. Where they are both sort of military people and they're on the side of each side of a gorge. So, Miles is there, Taylor-Joy is on here, and they're both snipers, and their job is to keep an eye on this gorge. They're not allowed to communicate with the other team on the other side. For 12 months, they've just got to keep an eye on this gorge and make sure nothing comes out, nothing goes in, and that the gorge is all perfectly quiet and dull. But they start communicating with each other by little signs, and that part's really interesting. The first hour of the film, I preferred to the second hour of the film, because the first hour is pretty much them, what the hell is this job? What is in this gorge? What do you mean? I've just got to be self-sufficient for a year? Check in on the radio every 30 days? Oh, look, there's somebody across on the other gorge. Let's play chess. Let's write down on pieces of paper little notes to each other and look through binoculars. It's great. Loved it. And so that part of the movie was Interesting. Who's messaging me now on this? Let's have a look. Nobody, hopefully. No, there we go. That's just somebody. My phone just lit up then for some stupid reason. Go away, phone. I'm busy chatting to who knows who. So yeah, the first half of the film I thought was better. Something happens around the middle of the film, and then it doesn't change, but it opens up another element, and that was fun. But I preferred the part when it was just two people on either side of the gorge just talking to each other and playing chess. Maybe that's just a personal preference, but friend of mine, Robert Dyer, he also watched the film and he agreed with me that he preferred the part when it was just them supervising this gorge rather than the second half of the movie. But it's good. I enjoyed the gorge. Will it end up in my top 10 of the year? Nope. But that's not a bad thing. I've currently seen 118 films this year. And so therefore, if I'm only picking 10, that's like 108 that are straight out. And The Gorge, unfortunately, is one of those. The next film I watched was another one of the Disney ones. And this was a film I've never ever seen before, The Little Mermaid from 1989. I liked it. It was fun. Obviously, I knew the premise of it. I was very familiar with Under the Sea song. I knew there was a live action remake, which the internet got really mad at. That's a whole nother topic. But it was nice to be able to get around to watching the original movie, which I had never ever seen before. The next one I think will be Rescuers Down Under. So I'm now into 1990. So we'll get in there. I'm enjoying watching all these Disney classics. We'll watch like one every couple of weeks. But it's nice following the journey of Disney as it goes through from the early days of like Snow White, Pinocchio, and Jungle Book, right through to Disney Wish or whatever the newest one is on that one. So the next film I watched, I had it and I sort of put off watching it for like 2 weeks, even though I really wanted to watch the film, just because of the sheer running time of the movie. I'm kind of at the minute I'm into these like 90-minute, 100-minute, 105-minute movies because I can watch one or two of those a night. It's great. 3-hour movies or 2 hour and 50-minute or 2 hour and 49, as this one will be that I'm going to talk about in a minute. You really got to plan your day out for that. You don't really want to be putting that on about 9:30 at night. You put a 90-minute film on around like now, it's great. 11:15, it's finished. No problem. But you put Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning on now, you're going to be having a late night and you may run the risk of nodding off at the end, which is no reflection on the film. I did enjoy the film. It's just 2 hours and 49 minutes, man. Long film. I've enjoyed all the Mission Impossible films. Yes, even number two. Number two gets a bashing, but I think number two has got a lot going for it. Mainly the Hans Zimmer score, which I think is amazing. I think Cruise suits his long hair. I like some of the action set pieces, and I'm a big John Woo fan, so go figure. So I saw Dead Reckoning Part 1 at the cinema. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Didn't manage to see Dead Reckoning Part 2, which then became The Final Reckoning at the cinema. Just real life things were just getting in the way. And then within like 3 weeks of the film being out, it had been relegated to one showing at night, which started about 8:30 in the evening. You add on 30 minutes of commercials, you ain't getting out till midnight. It's like, no, that's not happening because I really want to watch Mission Impossible. So this week I finally got around to watching it. I'm like, I have a bunch of hours spare. It's daytime. I'm going to sit down and watch this film. I did enjoy it. It's a long film. The first hour is pretty much exposition. So there's a lot of talking in the first hour. Once you get past, I know a few people have bailed out after the first hour. They're like, I'm done. I'm just going to skip it. But if you can get past this first hour, then that's when the action stuff kicks in. You get to see Tom Cruise being Tom Cruise and doing all this crazy stuff. And there are a few set pieces There's no car chase in this one though, which was quite unusual. I think there's been car chases and motorbike chases in most of them, I think, but not this one. But we do get some cool submarine stuff going on. We get some cool biplane action, which you'll have seen all of that in the trailer, where you'll have seen the fact that it's in there. You won't have seen the whole sequences because the submarine sequence seems to go on for ages, and it's great. And same with the plane sequence with Isai Morales and Tom Cruise. Great. I would happily just pay the ticket money just to watch those two sequences. Is it a film I would watch a lot though? See, Mission Impossible 2, 1, 3, and I think 4 they're not necessarily the best in the Mission Impossible franchise, but they're the ones that I would happily go, do you know what? I've not seen Mission Impossible for a while. I've not seen number 2, not seen number 3. I want to watch Philip Seymour Hoffman again. I would put them on. I don't know if the same can be said for these 3-hour ones. I think I would probably watch them again, but I just wouldn't watch them as often as I would the 2-hour Mission Impossible 2. I think I was having this conversation, I think it was with John Fouts the other week on this channel somewhere, and we were chatting about how a lot of films nowadays don't feel like they're rewatchable. And that's not to say they're bad films, but if you go back a whole bunch of years, go back to something like Aliens or Lethal Weapon or Tim Burton's Batman, you would watch that film like once a month or once every 3 months, and you would watch it again and again and again. And yet films nowadays, for me anyway, there's not many that I think, oh, I really want to watch that again and again and again. Maybe that's part of my habits that have changed. Maybe the films just feel a bit more McDonald's rather than, they give you a quick fix rather than something you're just going to constantly go back to. But who knows, that might be just my opinion. If anybody's got a different one, by all means, let me know. But yeah, so Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning is good. I don't know where I would rank it in the rest of the Mission Impossible movies. Even if it is at the bottom, it's still a really good film. So I guess that just means that I like all the other movies. So do you want to know what the highlight of my movie watching week has been? So I'd mentioned earlier on that sometimes I get sent screener discs through, and one of the PR companies that works with Arrow Video, they send me a lot of screeners. Well, they don't send me a lot, but I've been fortunate enough over the past month, I think, to get like one of pretty much everything that they've got coming out. And so I make a concerted effort to get through these and watch them all and prep a review on frompagescreen.com so that it can get launched, and I share it across my social media platforms and just basically give something back for the fact that they've let me watch these films and these extras for free. And one of the films that I got, it was a 2-disc set, so it comes out like mid-October. But I'm guessing I'm not embargoed because the film was from 1985, so I'm able to talk about a film from 1985 without running the risk of getting told off for breaking an embargo. They didn't say there was an embargo. I'm just presuming there was, but there wasn't. And it's Return of the Living Dead, that wonderful comedic zombie film from the mid-80s. Now, Return of the Living Dead is a film that I saw back in the mid-80s, probably around 1986. I wandered into my local video store, somehow ended up renting Return of the Living Dead. I don't know why, because I hadn't seen Night of the Living Dead. I'm wearing a t-shirt now, so clearly I have seen it since. But I hadn't seen Night of the Living Dead. And I'm just tidying up. There we go. Just tidying up a screen now. So yeah, so I haven't seen Night of the Living Dead, but somehow I ended up watching Return of the Living Dead, a comedic zombie film. This is brains, send more cops, that sort of thing. Those of you who've seen it will remember having watched it. And I loved it. I loved it when I watched the VHS. I hadn't seen the film for years. I know there was sequels. I know there was at least 2 sequels. I think the third one's got Sarah Douglas in it, if I remember rightly enough. The second, I can't remember anything about number 2 or number 3, but I did remember enough from Return of the Living Dead 1985 to go, oh, I'll watch this again because I haven't seen it in decades. So it was a 2-disc set, which kind of confused me because disc 1 was marked up Return of the Living Dead, something like that. It's obviously the film and some extras. The second disc was marked up More Brains. I'm like, the hell's that? So I watched the first disc, watched the movie, great movie. Then like, right, let's delve into these special features on this thing. And there's tons. There is tons. Now, let me just go through. I have my review sort of scheduled to launch. I mean, it's not going to launch until mid-October, but I can at least tell you what the special features are on the disc, so you can just run out and buy it. There we go. Yeah, it comes out 13th of October. Right, so disc 1, you get, right, are you ready? I'm sort of tilting this way for a few seconds just so I can read behind the screen there. So you've got 4 audio commentaries on this thing. You've got Dan O'Bannon and production designer. You've got some cast members on the second one, actors and makeup on the third one, and then film fans and critics on the fourth one. So you've got 4 audio commentaries there. So that's like another 6 hours worth of audio tracks. Then you've got a bunch of features. The origins of the Living Dead, the effects of the Living Dead, the music of Return of the Living Dead, Horror's Hallowed Grounds, which is on a tour of the locations, The Dead Have Risen, which is our archival footage, Designing the Dead, which is another archival footage, The Decade of Darkness, which is an archival featurette, and a bunch of deleted scenes, which are taken from a VHS tape, but are still watchable. And it is kind of cool seeing this really, really old stuff. That's just all on the first 4K disc. So as I mentioned, the second disc, which was called More Brains, I'm like, what the hell is this? Because usually with screener discs, they show up and they're like a white disc and it's just got the name of the film written on it. And it's usually like disc 1, disc 2. It's rare that it has a different title unless it's a different film. So disc 2, the More Brains, is a 2-hour documentary about the making of Return of the Living Dead. It was made, I think, like 2017. I'm looking at the date there. It's mid 2000s, 2000 and something. And it's a really good documentary. It is, I would say it's a little bit long, but 2 hours isn't that long. But when you consider that the film is 90 minutes and then you've got a making of, which is half an hour longer than the movie, it does feel a little bit, does this need to be this long? However, I watched it all, thoroughly enjoyed watching it all, and I would happily watch it again and recommend it. So no, it wasn't too long. It's, I don't know. I don't want to say it was too long because it wasn't, but it's an unusual thing to have a 2-hour documentary about a 90-minute comedy zombie film from 1985. But I had a blast watching that. So it is a really good set. I mean, the amount of hours on this thing. I mean, you've got the film, 90 minutes. You've got 6 hours worth of commentaries. So 7.5 hours. You've got God knows how many hours worth of featurettes there. At least an hour and a half, 2 hours. You've got this 2-hour documentary. And then also there's like extra interviews. There's the final interview with Dan O'Bannon on the disc, which is definitely worth watching as well. So that is what I've watched. Now that is out on the 13th of October. So for the sort of for the night of the never do a solo podcast when you're trying to look at multiple screens. It can be distracting sometimes. easier if you're doing a dual podcast where you're talking to somebody and then you can look and just glance away while they're talking. But when you're talking and you're trying to glance away, it is a little bit tricky. So that has been my week of films that I've watched. TV wise, we are working our way through a rewatch of Stranger Things. The final season is finally coming out in November, season 5. That show has just taken way too long to produce and to come out, hasn't it? I was looking up the other day and it's like 9 years since that damn thing started, and we've had 4 seasons. I know we've had like a pandemic in between, which would easily add on a couple of years, but it's been a while, and so I couldn't remember hardly anything from Stranger Things. So we decided, yeah, we're gonna go give it a rewatch and start from the very, very beginning. And so yesterday we finished season 1. Other than the basic premise, I couldn't remember anything about that series. I mean, I remember the characters and the whole upside down and all that type of thing, but there was so much that happened in that show that I just, for the life of me, couldn't even remember. So it was definitely beneficial that we did a rewatch. We started this evening watching season 2 of Stranger Things. I remember when I first watched this season, I've only ever seen season 2, 3, and 4 once. And I remember not being bored by season 2, but being less underwhelmed with Stranger Things season 2 than I had been with season 1. I mean, season 1 is like a mystery. You're like, ooh, what's going on? And where's the kids gone? And where's Barbara? And where, that sort of stuff. Season 2, I remember being a bit like me until it got to like the last 3 episodes. And then that's when the foot goes on the pedal and the whole thing takes off and it becomes great. And then this is a formula that Netflix have. They've done it in quite a few shows where the first few episodes are like, yeah, it's okay, it's pretty good. And then by the end of it, though, you're left with this, oh my God, that was amazing, which is what then propels you into watching the next season when the next show comes on. And I remember vividly season 2 being very much like that for me. So it will be interesting to see if I still feel that way when I'm rewatching season 2 of Stranger Things. I like the show. I've never been one of those that's been, oh my God, this show is amazing. How many days till it's coming back? Oh, 500 days. Brilliant. I'm starting to count down now. Never quite been that way with Stranger Things. Partially, probably because I remember the original films and TV shows that this thing was based on. Goonies and E.T. and Firestarter and all that sort of stuff. I remember these when they first came out. So I'm not so much watching Stranger Things go, wow, look at the world they live in. Because it's like, yeah, I remember living in that world. I remember having a Rubik's Cube. Still got one. But I'm enjoying Stranger Things. And then in November, we get the final set of episodes. Netflix doing the split series thing over, with that one, which I'm fine with. A lot of people are getting mad about it. Get a grip. We used to have to wait a week for every single episode of pretty much every single TV show. Those were the days. I kind of miss those. I'm not a really huge binge watch fan. I've started watching The Shield again, which if you've never seen The Shield, my God, that show is so good. And so I found a free streaming platform called U, the letter U, in the UK, which has all of The Shield on it. So I signed up for that. Doesn't cost anything. It's just like register with an email address. And so I've been watching like 1 or 2 episodes per night. That's probably about as bingey as I like to get. And also it says me going out buying the DVDs. But I would quite like the DVDs of The Shield, to be fair. But if you've not seen The Shield, awesome show. Absolutely love it. So where the hell was I headed with that one? Yep, binging. Yeah, I don't mind. I like binging as in like watch an episode per day, maybe 2 episodes per day. But I'm not one of these that's like, yay, the full season's dropped. Let me just hammer through and watch them all. I ain't got the energy for that. I remember as a kid, And as a young adult, I would go to the video store and I would come back with like 6 or 7 movies, VHS tapes, and I would stay up all night watching these things. It's like now I can't really watch more than 2 films. Not because most films are like 3 hours flipping long, but just because my attention span just goes. I'm like, no, I'll watch, I'll watch one and then I'll watch another. I think there's been an occasion, a couple of times in the past year where I've watched maybe like 3, 4 films in a day, but they've all been like 90-minute films and shortish things, and I was able to pause it and go to a break and come back and stuff. But gone are the days when I would sit down and just watch movies for 12 hours. Too much going on, too many things beeping at me, too much to check. I must check my emails. There must be very important emails. They're not. So yeah, viewing habits do change. So I'm going to sort of start rounding this up. The chat is kind of quiet for some reason. Not quite sure why. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. John Fouts and I did one of these last Thursday around 9 o'clock. We had like a whole bunch of people in the chat. So I'm sort of trialing which days of the week to do these podcasts. And also to see if me doing the solo ones kind of works. I don't mean works for you. I mean works for me doing it. Doing the solo ones with a headset on is kind of easy because I can just sit there with a headset on and just chat and just record the audio. But doing a video one, it's like, I don't know how exciting that is for people to watch, to be fair. I do tend to ramble, which I'm okay rambling. I can talk about anything. It's all good. And obviously with the health things going on, I'm still getting used to how long I can sit in one position in a chair. Spoiler, the answer is about an hour and a half. So there you go. But yep, I'm going to start rounding this up as I get ready to sort of head off downstairs to try and piece together some more of my physical media movies to watch in Shocktober, and say the 3 that I've dug out at the minute: The Devils, Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, and Ishi the Killer will go on the list. I watched Weapons this week, which I forgot to talk about Weapons. So I'm not going to spoil Weapons, so if anybody who hasn't seen Weapons, don't worry about it. I'm not going to ruin anything. But I enjoyed Weapons. It's the very simple premise, which you see in the trailer, is at 2:17 in the morning, all but one child from the same classroom just run out of the houses and disappear into the night. And it is a film about what the hell's happened to these kids, what's going on. I will say that when I found out what the solution was, initially I wasn't massively impressed because that type of film I'm usually not a fan of. However, Weapons did it well. And so by the end of watching Weapons, I'm like, that was a damn good movie. Will it end up on my top 10 film, the top 10 films of the year? Probably not, but that is nothing against Weapons. It's just the fact that the 10 films that are currently on my list, I've really, really enjoyed. I think it has been a really, really good year for film, and long may that continue. So I don't know what everybody's got planned for the week. I'm going to listen to some music. I'm listening to the new NRX album, which, if you check the show notes for this episode, there'll be a link to a Bandcamp page. And do check out some of NRX's music. I really want NRX to do a movie score at some point. They haven't done yet, but they have done a whole bunch of EPs. And I throw a few quid in, get the MP3, put it on my iPod. Yes, I still have an iPod. I'm old school. And then just listen to some cracking music. So do check out NRX. Love them. Absolutely great. Video game wise, I will go through very, very quickly the video games I'm playing because it's not a lot. I have a PlayStation 5, I have a PSVR 2, I have an Xbox Series X. Never use the X. Annette uses that for her Lego games. PS5 is generally my console of choice. And I've been playing, I think for the most, I've been playing Gran Turismo 7, which I've only just recently picked up because I looked at it and I'm crap at driving games. So terrible at driving games. But apparently GTA 7 or Gran Turismo 7, GTA 7. Gran Turismo 7 is one of the best VR2 games that you can get. And so to me, like putting a VR headset on and driving, even though I'm crap at it, sounds kind of cool. So I picked the game up once it dropped to a certain price. Right, let's go for it. I've played a lot of it flat screen. I haven't played any of it VR2 yet. Health issues have dictated what my health's like, so I've not gone down that route yet. I do look forward to the time when I can stop talking about how crap I feel, to be fair. It gets annoying, so I do apologise for that. But yeah, I've been playing a lot of Gran Turismo 7. I'm getting better. I'm getting better with the driving game. But then I put it down for a week and then just watched a lot of TV and movies and stuff, and then thought, right, I'm going to go back to playing some Gran Turismo 7. And my God, I sucked again. So it took me about 2 or 3 days to actually get used to playing GTA. The really cool thing about Gran Turismo is the way you control it. Now, if you can pretend that this is a PlayStation joypad and not a 3 DVD set of each together, then imagine this is your joypad. You control the car like this. So, you got your accelerator on your trigger and you're controlling it like that. It's really sensitive. It takes a few minutes to get used to. But I am not as crap a driver as I was when I first got the game. So I've been playing a lot of that. And that's it. That's all I've been playing video game wise. TV wise, I've been watching The Shield, Stranger Things. We finished Dexter Resurrection, which is a really good show. Tulsa King Series 3 started on Paramount Plus, so I watched the first episode of that. Been faffing around on social media. I've been lining up the films to watch for October, done a few podcasts, and generally, life's okay. It has its ups and has its downs. There's more downs at the minute, to be fair, but as we head towards the winter months, it's time for everybody to get their little winter projects so we can all hibernate and then come out when the sun comes back up in the springtime. So I don't know what the weather's been like where you have, but all in all, a decent-ish summer here in the UK. I just hope it doesn't mean that there's going to be a really shitty winter. So I hope that everybody who has watched this, or who is in the chat room now, or who is just scrolling on their phones, I hope you all have a good day, doing whatever you do. And there was no real sort of purpose to this solo podcast. I just thought, you know what, I'm not doing anything else tonight. I'm just gonna jump on and chat and see if there's anybody in the chat room. And fortunately, there was a few people that went hi and bye, but there was no real conversation going on. But that's okay. I don't mind. Don't mind at all. This is all one part of the From Page to Screen podcasting experiment. We'll see if it worked. Who knows? But I hope you enjoy your day. For those of you in the US, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. For those of you in the UK, the day is nearly ending. Don't worry, there will be another one coming around in just a few hours. So take care, and yeah, do you know what? Just take care.